Welcome to Film Recaps. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy the story.
The film begins with a girl named Berf as she monitors an illegal immigrant detention center. She sees many immigrants locked up in the center, and they are about to be deported to their countries. This center is located in America, specifically on the border that separates it from the state of Mexico. We learn that Berf works in a secret organization that opposes the political system in America. This secret organization tries to help immigrants coming to America illegally because these immigrants are coming to America because they don't know how to live a good life in their country. After a while, Berf goes to a meeting of the organization, and they think of a plan to storm the center and free the immigrants. Berf talks to her boyfriend Bob, who works as an explosives expert in the organization, and she asks him to prepare a large amount of explosives and detonate them when she and her colleagues in the organization storm the center. Bob agrees and tells her that he will plant the explosives around the center at night during the storming in order to distract the army soldiers so they can storm the center. At night, they carry out their plan, and the organization members enter the center and threaten all the guards with weapons. Berf takes the opportunity and enters Captain Stephen's office, threatens him with a weapon, and takes him to lock him up with his soldiers. At that time, the organization members are able to free the immigrants and take them in cars. At this time, Bob detonates all his explosives in front of the center and goes to get into the car with Berf, and they leave. They are happy because their plan succeeded. Within 1 month, they are able to carry out bombing operations in many places where corrupt officials meet. One day, Berf and Bob go to the U.S. Congress building to blow it up. Berf enters the bathroom and puts a bomb in the ventilation vent. Suddenly, she finds Captain Stephen standing behind her, telling her that he has been watching her for a long time and knows that she works in a secret organization that opposes the state system and that they have blown up many places. But all this doesn't matter to him because he is not interested in the political system. He confesses to her that he admires her and will let her do what she wants on the condition that she comes to his house at night. Berf agrees, leaves him, and goes to meet her boyfriend Bob to leave the building after putting the explosives. After a year, we see Berf pregnant, and she is not interested in the child in her womb, to the point that she trains in shooting and continues to drink normally with her friends at night. At that time, Bob is upset because he is afraid for his daughter in her womb. He goes to talk to her mother to complain to her, but he is surprised that she tells him that Berf is not suitable for him because she doesn't want to form a family and settle down like him. All she cares about is being free and doing what she wants without restrictions. Bob is convinced by her words because he knows that Berf is not interested in being a mother. Indeed, Berf gives birth to a girl and they call her Wala, and Berf is not interested in her at all, unlike Bob, who cares for her all the time and moves away from the life of crime he was in before. Berf gets annoyed because he is not interested in her like her daughter and feels jealous towards her. At that time, she decides to leave the house and abandon him and her daughter. Before she leaves, Bob talks to her and begs her not to leave for the sake of their daughter Wala. Berf refuses and tells him that she is not interested in anyone but herself and that she won't allow anything to restrict her. Then she leaves him and goes. The next day, she goes to rob a bank with her colleagues in the secret organization. She is drunk and not in her senses, to the degree that she shoots the security guard with a pistol and kills him. The alarm goes off at the sound of the shot, and she and her colleagues are forced to escape. They go to get into the car to flee. On their way, they are surprised that the police have arrived at the place and are chasing them. At that time, they find a car that crashed into them, and they are forced to get out of the car. They all run and escape from the police, except for Berf, who is arrested. Captain Stephen goes to visit her and tells her that she is accused of many crimes and might spend her whole life in prison. Berf begs him to help her and tells him that she loves him and wants to live with him all her life. It appears that she is a liar and is using him to get her out of the trouble she is in. Stephen agrees because he loves her and tells her that he knows someone in the federal police who will help her get out of the case, on the condition that she tells him the names and locations of all her colleagues in the organization, so he can tell the judge in court that she was working as a spy for them. Berf is forced to agree and tells him everything about her colleagues in the organization. At that time, a person from the organization named Harold talks to Bob and informs him that Burf has been arrested and will surely tell the police everything, so they all must flee. He advises him to take his daughter Wala and flee as well. Before he leaves, he gives him 2 transmission devices for him and his daughter to communicate with him if anything happens. He tells him that if he knows the army is looking for him and his daughter, he will send someone from the organization with a similar transmission device to warn him, and if he meets this person, he must trust him because these transmission devices are only given to trusted people. Bob thanks him, takes his daughter Wala, and flees to another state. At this time, Burf gets out of prison and is riding in a car with Captain Stephen, who is taking her to his house to live with him. He warns her not to communicate with anyone from her family or the organization because the army is watching her, and if they find out she is communicating with someone from the organization, they will arrest her. Burf is annoyed because she doesn't love Stephen and doesn't want to live with him. Within a short period, Stephen is able to kill many people from the organization, and of course, this is after knowing their locations from Burf. He is promoted in the army to the rank of colonel. When he returns home, he is surprised that Burf has escaped and left him a note telling him that she is not his property and doesn't want to live with him. After 17 years, Wala grows up and we see her training in karate. As for Bob, he is an addict and goes to meet the principal of Wala's school to check on his daughter Wala's level in studies. The principal tells him that Wala is a committed and clever girl and will have a great future because her grades are very good. At this time, an army officer goes to arrest Howard, who gave Bob the wireless devices 16 years ago, and takes him to an army camp. There the captain investigates him and asks him about the location of Bob and his daughter Wala. Howard refuses to tell him their location and tells him that he is not afraid of him. Before he finishes his words, he is surprised that the captain threatens him with killing his little sister if he doesn't tell him the location of Bob and his daughter. Howard is forced to tell him their location, and the captain goes to inform Colonel Stephen of everything. Stephen orders him to go to Bob's place, kill him, and bring Wala alive. It turns out that Stephen wants Wala because he thinks she is his daughter, not Bob's daughter, especially since he had a relationship with her mother Burf in the past. At this time, Wala talks to Bob and blames him because he started drinking a lot of alcohol and drugs and begs him to stop because she is afraid for him. Bob promises her that he will try to stop drinking drugs. While they are talking, Bob sees her friend's car and knows they are coming to take her because they have a party at school. He goes to talk to her boyfriend privately and threatens him that he will kill him and his family if he thinks of hurting his daughter or bothering her. After that, Wala gets into the car with her friends and goes to the party. There, she enters the bathroom and is surprised that the wireless device with her makes a sound. A woman named Judy comes to talk to her, and she has a wireless device like hers. She informs her that she is from the secret organization and reminds her of Howard's words to her father when he told him to trust anyone with this device. She informs her that the army is looking for her and her father Bob, and she must come with her immediately to escape. Wala is forced to agree and goes with her. At the same moment, Bob is sitting drinking prohibited substances at home and finds a call coming to him from the organization informing him that the army is coming to arrest him. They reassure him and tell him that his daughter is with their colleague Judy and has likely escaped from the party. Bob decides to escape quickly from the house before being arrested. Suddenly, the army soldiers break down the house door and enter to look for Bob, and they are surprised that he escaped from a tunnel he made under the bed. At that time, Stephen enters and sees Wala's picture and wishes to find her because he thinks she is his daughter. At this moment, Bob calls the organization and asks them about their new secret headquarters where his daughter Wala will be hiding. When they ask him for the password that no one knows except the organization men, Bob tells them that he forgot it because it has been 16 years since he communicated with them. They hang up on him. Bob is annoyed and doesn't know what to do. He goes to talk to Sergey, Wala's karate coach, and tells him everything and asks him to hide him until he knows his daughter's location and goes to her. Sergey takes him in his car and they move from the place. At that time, Sergey asks him why Wala hasn't answered her phone for 2 days. Bob is shocked because he warned his daughter not to carry a phone so the army wouldn't know her location. At the same time, the army arrives at Wala's school and the captain investigates her colleagues and asks them about her location. They tell him they don't know her location, and they learn that she has a phone and hasn't told her father about it. We go back again to Bob while he is in the apartment of Coach Sergey's friends, and he calls the organization to know his daughter Wala's location. A man from the organization answers him and asks him for the password. As usual, Bob forgets the password and gets angry at him and threatens to kill him when he sees him. Another man from the organization named Talai talks to him, and it turns out he is an old friend of Bob. He tells him that his daughter will hide in a nunnery on the outskirts of the city and reassures him that she will be fine because all the women in the organization are hiding there. Suddenly, the army attacks the place, and Coach Sergey goes to take Bob and asks him to leave through the back door to escape. At the same time, Wala is riding with Judy in the car on their way to the nunnery. Wala's phone rings and Judy shouts at her because she didn't tell her she had a phone, takes it from her, and throws it on the road. It turns out Colonel Stephen's men are the ones who called her to determine her location. Indeed, Stephen knows her location and moves there. At the same time, Bob tries to escape from the army, and a police officer comes and electrocutes him until he falls to the ground and is arrested. When Wala arrives at the nunnery, Judy talks to the head of the nunnery and informs her that Wala is Bob's daughter. It turns out that the head and all the nuns in the nunnery are members of the secret organization. The head talks to Wala and tells her that she is not comfortable with her and feels she will cause them problems. She threatens to kill her if she thinks of informing the army about them like her mother Berf did. Wala is shocked because she didn't know her mother was the one who informed on the organization, because Bob made her understand that her mother was a hero and a revolutionary and that she died in the revolution. She understands that Bob did this and was forced to lie to her so she wouldn't hate her mother. At this time, there is an intelligence officer named Tim attending a complicated meeting with the army. They tell him they learned that Colonel Stephen was in a relationship with a girl from the secret organization members named Berf and likely had a daughter from her named Wala, and he is now looking for her. Of course, this information, if it spreads in the army, will be a disaster and they will be dismissed from the army. Therefore, they ask him to look for Stephen and kill him and Wala before the news spreads. Officer Tim agrees and promises them to kill him as soon as possible. We go back again to Wala while she is training on shooting with the nuns and decides to join the secret organization. After a while, she sits talking to Judy and tells her she feels her mother didn't die as her father Bob told her. She informs her that she heard the nuns in the nunnery talking about her mother and saying she is a traitor. Judy confesses the truth to her and tells her that her mother was arrested 16 years ago and told the army everything about the organization. At this time, her father Bob is in the police station and a policewoman investigates him and asks him for his name. Bob lies to her and tells her his name is Parker because if she knew his real name, she would transfer him to the Army Investigation Center because he is one of the secret organization members. Before he finishes his words, he is surprised that she knows his name and everything about him and tells him that he has diabetes and must go to the medical examination room to give him an insulin injection. Bob understands that this policewoman is one of the organization members and agrees to go with her. Then she takes him to the examination room, removes the handcuffs from his hands, and tells him about the back door location to escape from. Bob thanks her and leaves the police station quickly. He finds Coach Sergey waiting for him in the car and understands that he is the one who made the policewoman help him escape from the police station. He asks Sergey to take him to the nunnery to go to his daughter Wala. At the same moment, Colonel Stephen arrives at the last location where Wala's mobile was before it broke. He goes to a food shop and tells the shop owner about Wala's description and asks him if he saw her. The shop owner tells him he saw her riding in a car with a woman, and they moved on a deserted road to a nunnery, and they surely went to this nunnery because the deserted road has no shops or houses at all except the nunnery. Stephen is convinced by his words, takes his men and moves there. While Judy is sitting with Wala, she hears the sound of gunfire and goes out to see what it is. Suddenly, an army soldier enters Wala's room and arrests her and hands her over to Colonel Stephen. Stephen takes out a bag containing analysis tools and takes a sample from Wala to analyze it and know if she is his daughter or not. Then he talks to her and tells her that if the sample comes out matching, he will kill her, and if it doesn't come out matching, he will let her go and won't do anything to her. Waller is surprised by his words and doesn't understand anything. Stephen explains to her that her mother had a relationship with him 16 years ago and that he suspects she is his daughter, not Bob's daughter, because he gathered information about Bob and discovered that he doesn't father children at all. If she turns out to be his daughter, he will kill her because he is due for a promotion, and if his superiors find out he was in a relationship with her mother, they will dismiss him from the army or kill him. Waller is shocked and tells him that even if the analysis result proves he is her father, she doesn't care because she loves Bob and for her, he is her father. Stephen gets angry and insults her and her mother. At the same time, the captain investigates Judy and offers to let her out of prison on the condition that she tells him Bob's location and tells him all the information she knows about the secret organization. Judy refuses and tells him she knows nothing. When the analysis result appears, Waller is surprised that Stephen is her real father, and all this time she was living with Bob, and he is not her father at all. At this time, Bob is on his way to the church and talks to Coach Sergey and tells him he loves his daughter Waller and that he regrets spending his whole life drinking alcohol and prohibited substances and didn't care for his daughter at all. Therefore, he decided to change and stop prohibited substances for her sake and wishes for her to be well and nothing happens to her. Sergey tells him he is a good father, and the proof is that he didn't abandon his daughter like her mother did. During their talk, they find a police car walking behind them. An idea comes to Sergey to slow down the car and let Bob jump out of it and continue his way alone, and he will drive the car to distract them and keep them away from him. Indeed, Bob jumps from the car and hides until the police move away. After that, he drives a car and continues his way to the nunnery. At this time in the nunnery, Colonel Stephen decides to kill Waller, but in a place far from the nunnery. He takes her out of the place and puts her in the car. At that time, Bob arrives and stands in a place far from the nunnery, takes out the sniper, sees everything, and aims his weapon towards Stephen and tries to kill him. But unfortunately, he fails and no shot hits him. The army men start shooting at him, so he hides quickly and doesn't know what to do. At that time, Stephen takes the opportunity and gets into the car that Waller is in and leaves the place. Bob goes to drive the car too and moves quickly to follow Stephen's car and save her. After a while, Stephen arrives at a place in the desert and meets an army officer and orders him to take Waller and kill her in a far place because he can't do that, especially since she is his daughter. The officer refuses on the pretext that he doesn't kill young girls, but Stephen insists on his words and offers him $1 million. The officer agrees, and Stephen goes to take Waller out of the car and puts her in the officer's car and then leaves. On his way, Tim, the intelligence officer, is walking next to him in the car, takes out a rifle and shoots him with it. Stephen is injured and his car flips over. Tim goes to look at him to make sure he died. As for Waller, the officer has taken her to a deserted place where one of his men lives and agrees with him to kill her instead of him because he feels guilty and can't kill a young girl. When he gets into his car, he thinks about what he did and is remorseful, so he decides to correct his mistake. He goes to undo the handcuffs from Waller's hand and lets her escape. After that, he kills the soldier so he doesn't inform Stephen of what happened. Thus, he will be able to lie and say that Waller killed the soldier and escaped. At this time, Bob arrives at Stephen's car and finds it flipped over. He worries about Waller and looks for her in the car and is relieved when he finds she is not there. He thinks she escaped from him, so he decides to look for her on the road. At the same time, Waller steals a car, gets in, and drives quickly. On her way, she finds a strange car walking behind her. It turns out this is Officer Tim's car because the army leaders ordered him to kill her and Stephen. At that time, Bob is driving the car to look for Waller and is moving behind them from afar while not seeing them. At that time, Waller thinks of a way to escape from Officer Tim. An idea comes to her to stand on a high slope on the road so Tim won't be seeing her, and then get out of the car and hide. Indeed, she does that and goes to hide and takes out a pistol and points it towards the car. At that time, Tim is going up the slope and sees Waller's car in front of him and hits it. As soon as he gets out of the car, Waller asks him about the organization's password because she thinks he is one of them. Tim ignores her words and takes out his pistol to kill her, but Walla is faster than him and shoots him and kills him. At that time, Bob arrives at the place, and Walla goes to hug him and continues to cry. Then she gets into the car with Bob, and they leave the place quickly. The surprise is that Stephen turns out to be still alive and is bleeding and walking on the road to try to return to the city. After a month, he sits talking to two of the army leaders. They tell him they learned the truth and learned that he was in a relationship with one of the secret organization that is against the state system and also had a daughter from her, and therefore he won't be promoted and will also be dismissed from the army. Stephen denies all this talk and tells them that this is not true. He tells them that the secret organization, when they stormed the immigrant detention center, threatened him that they would kill him if he didn't have a relationship with Birth. They wanted to film him in a video to hold a weakness against him and make him carry out their orders, or they would send this video to all the army leaders and cause his dismissal. At that time, he was forced to carry out their orders because he had no other solution. After he finishes his talk, they tell him they believe him and will promote him, but in reality, they don't believe him and are lying to him for a certain reason. Stephen is happy and takes one of the leaders to show him his new office. As soon as Stephen enters the office, this leader closes the door on him. Stephen doesn't notice and sits on the chair, happy because he was promoted. At that time, an anesthetic gas spreads from the ventilation vent in the office and Stephen loses consciousness. The leader's assistants come and carry him and put him inside an oven and he burns and dies. At this time, Bob sits talking to Walla and surprises her that he knows he doesn't father children and that he is not her real father, but he loves her and considers her his daughter indeed and will continue to love her all his life. He informs her that her mother is still alive and that she escaped from the country and is now in Mexico. He gives her a letter she sent to her 2 years ago, and he kept it until the right time came. Walla reads the letter, and her mother wrote to her that she loves her and feels guilty for abandoning her easily. She tells her she thought freedom was for a person to live in their own way and do everything they want, but discovered that all this was wrong. Real freedom is for a person to live with the people who love them and apologize for everything. Walla breaks down in tears and goes to hug Bob and thanks him for not abandoning her. The film ends.